You're listening to the Jiu Jitsu Lou podcast, and I'm Lou Temlett. I'm guessing you're having a good day because either you've been on the mats, considering getting on the mats, or maybe you're wanting to get in shape and get good at your ground game. I'm so happy you're here listening or watching this episode. Please don't tap out before the end. When you've been a lifelong fan of fighting sports, start training jiu-jitsu. I'd like to welcome Ollie Kelly to my podcast. Hi Ollie, how are you?
Good afternoon, Lou. I'm very well, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing really well. Now, you've got a lot to answer for, Mr. Kelly,
Right.
because this is the individual that got me and my kids into training Brazilian Jiu Jitsu back in November 2022. I don't think you realise what you've done, Ollie.
Yeah, well, it's you're certainly on your own, journey now, and it's great to see, to be honest. So I'm really glad I, introduced you to the sport, and that you're still doing what you're doing, and that you all seem to be really flourishing in the sport, which is great.
Oh, thank you. That's really kind. We're all on our own journeys, and I think, we just get stuck in that flow of showing up week in, week out, doing whatever we do, and just enjoying the process. But I am incredibly grateful that you suggested that we come along and try jiu-jitsu. It was an opportunity for me as a female to try jiu-jitsu free for a month, which, whilst I didn't even know what jiu-jitsu was, I don't think you even told me what jiu-jitsu was at that point.
Yeah, I might have just alluded to it. It's just rolling around on the floor and, that sort of stuff. But it worked, got you there, and you're still in it and making a good impact in the game as well, specifically in the UK. So yeah, good job. I think it's all a success story, isn't it?
It is. And I think, when we become, members in clubs or, part of the community of jiu-jitsu, none of us really want to leave. We're all kind of stuck in the game in one way or another. But talk to me about your journey, particularly around getting in shape and kind of getting good at your ground game. But I guess more so, what drew you to fighting sports in the first place? Because it sounded like your journey started way before you even started jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, so I don't know that I necessarily state that I'm good at the ground game yet. I mean, I'm an okay jiu-jitsu practitioner, I would say, but yeah, I mean, the journey was like you said, very long for me. So I have been a fight fan throughout my life, and had throughout my life not worked, but practiced various sports, so boxing, taekwondo from early on. I was actually brought up in France until the age of 10. And in France, the curriculum out there is that sports is done pretty much every day at school. So I was from quite early on, I was exposed to some really interesting sports. So we did things like judo, which was part of our curriculum. We did boxing, which was also part of our curriculum, interestingly enough. It wasn't like full on boxing. It was like a controlled environment. With paddings and all that sort of stuff, just to make it fun. But we also, very much encouraged to do outdoor activities. So every day we'd go down to the local lake, which was, less than a mile from the school, and we'd run a mile basically around the lake. And I remember doing that from a very young age. So I was always involved in, sports activities. And then as I grew older, I went more into striking. So fast forward, a few years, I'd moved back to the UK by the time I was 11, and obviously that switched it up a little bit in terms of PE and sports, because it's very different. So I started to look outside of school and see what was available. So I got involved in taekwondo and boxing for my teenage years.
It sounds quite an interesting shift. The French system with having so many sports available to you, and then coming to the UK and I think any of you that have children, maybe the kids do PE maybe once or twice a week. There are lots of other opportunities outside of school, like you're saying, but being able to express yourself in a physical way with sports on a daily basis at school sounds a really healthy option, something we should kind of technically be adopting in the UK.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's definitely some great advantages and benefits for young people to get involved in, specifically, jiu-jitsu as a combat sport early on.
Mm.
It teaches you so many great lessons from, continuing in one direction, following something through the belt system,
Yeah,
or perseverance with technique and with those types of things. So I think there's a lot of transferable skills that you can get from jiu-jitsu that you can apply to life generally, specifically as kids. I
yeah.
know there was an initiative recently where they were looking at putting Gracie Baja, I think it was Gracie Baja Jiu-Jitsu in school curriculums, and I know that some private schools adopt like a judo model. I'm not
Mm.
sure on the national plans for that, but definitely it would be something I think that would bring a lot of value to a lot of people, specifically in the UK. Yeah,
Absolutely. And I think we all benefit. You've highlighted there the mindset and the mental health approach that
yeah,
jiu-jitsu gives us, and building resilience and competitive spirit, whatever it is, and that well-being, as well as the self-defense. Now, talk to me about the beginning part of your jiu-jitsu journey, Ollie.
yeah. So my jiu-jitsu journey began in 2021. I mean, like I said, I'd always been a fight fan, so I was very involved in watching the UFC and trying to, maybe replicate some of these things on nights out or lads' nights out or whatever, just having fun rolling around. But I never really had any ground game skills, right? So
Yeah,
I had a fairly moderate base in judo, but nothing to the extent of what I have now in jiu-jitsu for sure.
yeah,
Um, so 2021, I was looking for, this is post-COVID. I was looking for an outlet in terms of physical activity. So I'd always been running, and I'd, be a regular attendee to the gym, but I
yeah,
needed something a bit more engaging, a bit more maybe um, with a team vibe to it.
yeah.
So I think having your partners hold you accountable is really, really powerful and helpful as well.
Mm.
Um, so I got my daughter involved in jiu-jitsu first and foremost, because I thought there was a great kids program over at Gracie Barra in Staple Hill, Bristol. I was living at the time. So I got my daughter involved in that, and it didn't take long for me to, sort of follow suit really. And I knew that was always going to be the case. It was more of me um, trying to make it a family activity, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
spending time with my daughter, empowering her to be a confident, outgoing, and strong, capable person in jiu-jitsu, but also in the rest of
yeah,
her undertakings. And then I followed suit. So I think about two
yeah.
months after she started, I signed up full time,
Yeah.
and just went in both feet first, really.
I think it's really good. And you've had the benefit of your daughter training jujitsu and being in the community kind of spirit and energy. When you're waiting and kind of occasionally popping your head around the gym door to see the kids training, you go, maybe I could do that too. And there's a sense of pride in seeing them develop their own skills, their confidence, and everything else positive that goes along with jujitsu.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
actually, seeing that and kind of wanting some of that positivity for ourselves. So I think you obviously made the right step in getting on the mats. Maybe you could have taken that step at the same time. That's what me and the kids did. I think the kids were more wary than I was. I didn't know what I was letting myself in for. But I guess being in and around combat sports and the kind of fight scene, so to speak, you knew what you were letting yourself in for, and you knew what to expect.
I thought I knew what to expect. So what I expect, and yes, you're right. I've been watching a lot of these sports throughout my life, and I've been involved in them in various ways. From my day job, for example, I'm involved in sports, but also, um, yeah, you walk onto the mats the first time thinking you're going to be, you know, probably pretty good, that no one's going to take you down, and that you'll be able to get a dominant position or something, but
Mm,
absolutely not. I actually didn't really have a clue. Um, Despite knowing a lot of the names of these techniques and
yeah,
watching them through the UFC cards and whatnot. No, I had no idea. I remember my first my first time going, um, I was feeling very confident, and I was just twisted into various pretzel shapes by a young guy who was like 20 kilos lighter than me. So
Yep.
that was a wake up call straight away. And if anything, I think, that made me want to practice even more. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I had that initial, drive home with no music, silence in the car. Um, I think I recorded a couple of videos and posted them to my Instagram at the time, saying, "Wow, this is
Yep.
difficult. This is not what I thought it was going to be at all."
Yeah.
Um, because it definitely changes your state of mind about yourself. I think I
Yeah.
walked into the dojo thinking that I would be absolutely fine and that I'd be a very competent grappler, and it
Yep.
turned out that I was utterly rubbish. I didn't have a clue what I was doing,
Yeah.
um, and it was it was a very eye-opening experience.
I think,
Very humbling, very
starting,
humbling.
yeah, I think starting training jiu-jitsu, it's a great leveler. The clothes we wear, the gis, and, just being, aside from our belt rank, we're all in the same situation. There is obviously the higher ranks are better than the white belts, but it's about having that equality on the mats and feeling like even if you get turned into a pretzel one day or maybe future days down the line, that there's a capacity to learn and, like you say, to be humble and to just experience what's going on in that very moment. How were your white belt days? Because we all have experienced the young guys kind of going quite fast, thinking they have the energy and they can, cause the rest of us a lot of trouble. But how were
Yeah.
you in your white belt days?
Well, I started at the age of 30, so I was on the cusp, I guess, of I was ready to do the hard rounds with the younger guys,
Yeah.
um, but I didn't necessarily appreciate the art of jiu-jitsu, which I think is, as you get older and more experienced in the sport, you can start
Yeah.
controlling the game a little better. You can slow the pace down, and you don't have to meet that same energy with the same energy,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
that's been an ongoing learning curve for me. I think
Mm.
I'm 35 now, 5 years, almost 5 years in, and it's my jiu-jitsu has changed for sure now, definitely.
Yeah.
At first, I was meeting nails of nails, as it were,
Yep.
and I was using a lot of strength. But I felt fairly um, confident in my approach because I thought I was keeping up, and I was keeping up, but it was probably through the wrong techniques, the wrong ways. I think
Yeah.
my jiu-jitsu's changed a lot. It's a lot more theory based and concept based.
Yeah.
And I think you just grow in the sport like that. That's just how the
Yeah.
natural progression of things.
Yeah.
Um,
That's
yeah,
one of the things that you mentioned, you having the theory in the sport or learning the theory. That's one of the things that I've been inspired by in your journey. Whether it's a textbook or whether you're kind of sharing reels that are techniques that would be good. It's having that off mat training that I think
yeah,
really enhances some of our games. Nothing can beat time on the mats and training jujitsu to improve at jujitsu. But there is also an element, as you say, in learning the theory. What off mat technique has enhanced your game the most, do you think?
I mean, it's there's a lot of. I get a bit obsessive with things. I work in IT, so I get a little bit obsessive with things, as I'm sure you. And that's how we originally met, you and I, through our IT networking, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Um, so, as I'm sure you're aware, a lot of people in this field, and probably in other fields as well, get quite obsessive with these things. So, I put a lot of time into off the mat training. So it'd be, watching reels and videos and tutorials online, reaching out to people to ask them questions.
Yeah.
I go to a lot of shows as well. So Polaris being one of the shows that I've gone to repeatedly,
Mm.
local comps as well. And obviously, since building the brand, that's just expanded, and we can touch on that later. But yeah, it's more about, I think, a lot of your instructors will give you the theory and the concepts and the actual techniques on the mat, but you should always be encouraged to take your learning into your own hands. And I think that's a very
Yeah.
important lesson to learn probably quite quickly, is that you will only progress at your own rate. And if you decide that your own rate needs to be accelerated, then you'll actively go and increase your skill set.
Yeah.
Books, anything, books, resources, anything online. And there's so much online today. There's so much out there these days. It wasn't the same like 20 years ago. So,
Yeah.
it's there for you to use it. So I would definitely encourage people to go and do so.
So I remember you buying a giant manual of all the different techniques and concepts. What
Yep.
one thing has kind of stood out for you in terms of, I don't know, maybe a mindset in your learning and kind of shift to progress? Has there been one thing that has influenced you more than anything?
I wouldn't say that there's one thing specifically that has influenced me outside of training. I
Yeah.
think it's a multitude of things, but the key drivers for me to improve my game and to improve my consistency and all of these good things
Yeah.
were getting beaten up, basically. So the more time I spent on the bottom, the more motivated I was to increase my game, basically.
Okay.
So it's that whole cycle, right? You get humbled, you build up your confidence, and then you get humbled again, and then it's that cycle of going round and round. But you're actually, there's an upwards curve there. So although you
Yeah.
feel like you're stuck within this cycle, the trajectory is upwards, right? So I think that, so look, when you start jiu-jitsu, it's very difficult to get your head space right and your head around the fact that actually you're going to suck for a long time. You're going to be
Yeah.
probably rubbish, and you're going to be someone's rest round or spar dummy for probably six months, maybe even a bit longer. But until you start seeing your progression, you'll be stuck in a mindset. So I think what really helped me was setting realistic goals. So when I went into it, a realistic goal would be not I'm going to win this round, but it might be I won't get submitted, or I won't let that grip go where on the collar, for example, or I will strip the grip every time I get grabbed, or I will hold a side control position for 20 seconds. Those types of achievable and modular kind of targets that you can build on top of each other, I think overall strengthen your position and your confidence in the sport. I think that's quite important to learn early on, because a lot of people will just look at their game, go, I've been getting beaten up for 3 to 6 months now. I'm not getting any better. But actually you are getting better. It's a mindset piece as well. It's about making realistic targets. And I think that's key. That's certainly something that helped me in my journey, and not give up, because there were times where I was thinking, I'm just awful at this,
I think we all get to that place where we kind of are down on ourselves. We think we haven't progressed. We think we're completely rubbish, and at that point, there's two ways to go. There's to back out and go, no, I'm not doing this anymore. Or it's to be building some of that resilience and keep going, knowing that actually, even if it's 1% better, you are getting better, and just holding that space for achievement and growth and all of those good things.
Yeah, that 1% a day, I think, is key. And the other thing I wanted to just mention on that is in line with this is, when you approach your training, go in with a target, go in with a, this is what I want to get out of my training today. Instead of, and most people have probably heard this already, but instead of just going to your training and passively learning the techniques and applying the techniques, which is great, that's the foundational level stuff. If you can go in with a very specific end goal from that training session, I think you start seeing vast improvements very quickly, because that was my mind shift set for sure. I'd go in knowing what I was wanting to get out of it.
Good. Thank you for that. I think that's very wise words.
This episode is sponsored by Matador App. We know that you like to attend BJJ events and open mats. Matador App is the gateway to world-class martial arts seminars. Join a network of jiu-jitsu practitioners and get full access to train with top athletes, competitors, and coaches wherever you are based in the world. Building a global online community with secure ticket booking for events and notifications based on your interests so you never miss an event near you. Head over to matadorapp.io to download the app today.
This is the Jiu-Jitsu Lou podcast with me, Lou Temlett, coming to you from the UK. One of the things that would really help this show grow is by you subscribing on whichever platform you're on, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or Amazon Music. If you could do that for me right now, I would be forever grateful. And as always, check out the clips on YouTube and Instagram. Today, I'm having a conversation with Ollie Kelly, founder of Matador App. Ollie, let's talk about your time watching fighting sports. And you briefly mentioned Polaris earlier. You've been to a number of Polaris events and probably some others. Talk to me about how you felt as a spectator going into those sports, those events. Now you're training Brazilian Jiu Jitsu.
Yeah, so it was for me. It was a very eye-opening experience. And this is kind of what led to the crossover and creation of the Matador app, and I'm sure we'll come on to it. But I went along to, I think it was Polaris 25 in Ebbw Vale. We're going back a couple of years now, three years maybe. But it was a very eye-opening experience because I was really surprised at how intimate it was. There was probably about 200 to 300 people sat round on spectating, and you were literally within a couple of meters of these world-class athletes, and you could shout their name, give them a wave, give them a fist bump, which I did to a number of them, and that was a kind of fangirl moment for me.
I remember seeing it on your Instagram stories and thinking, I would love to be there. I'd love to, just immerse myself in that energy.
Yeah, it was amazing. So I sat myself strategically next to the walkout athlete area so I could get a good shot of them. And I put my fist out and did a fist bump with Fabricio Andre and Funk Master, Aljamain Sterling, Mike Grundy as well. So that was the card that he was on. And there was just a number of people who were really like high class, world class athletes, and they were literally just a few steps away from you. So it highlighted a few things. It highlighted that the sport is really still a growing sport, and that the access is unparalleled to any other sport out there. So just kind of opened a world of opportunities to me, which I'm down the road now of. But yeah, it was definitely an eye-opening experience. I think the fact that we've got a really good presence in the UK with shows like Polaris and a load of other emerging shows now which are coming out. You've got Ikigai, which is coming up in a few weeks. They've got £5,000 prizes to give away. You've got like the Raw series. You've got Endured Professional, which just came out. Obviously, you've got Submission Series, which is an event that I sponsor. So you've got so many shows. There's just so much talent coming out now, and it is an emerging sport, and it's growing at rapid pace, and it's really all very exciting, to be honest. And
it feels
great to be a part of it.
It feels very accessible. I mean, I've been to Enyo. I'm supporting Kairos 2 event. Prize pots and female competitors, male competitors, just making it more accessible, but equally, having the juniors and the youth events as well. It's much more becoming events for everyone, and that's that's the key, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
Now, tell me the shift between being so close to these professional athletes and the development of the Matador app.
Yeah, so the proximity wasn't necessarily the catalyst. It was actually the lack of proximity to a specific athlete, which was the sort of catalyst to build the app. So as we all know, within Jiu-Jitsu, there's again leaning on to this unparalleled sort of access to athletes. We have seminars, right? and I love attending seminars whenever I can make one. I will. In fact, I just missed one in escapology last week, unfortunately. But I will hopefully make the next one that they host. So yeah, I do enjoy a good seminar because I think it's an opportunity to step outside of your comfort zone of your gym and learn some techniques that you wouldn't necessarily come across in your day-to-day rolling or practice. So Giancarlo Bodoni was in it was around Polaris 25. Giancarlo Bodoni was competing in the Grand Slam, 80 kilos I think it was, and we were both practicing in training in Gracie Barra Staple Hill at the time in Bristol. And Giancarlo was actually in, I think it was Patchway. I think it was GB Patchway, around there somewhere. So I had assumed that we would know about it, that we would have heard about it, with the GB network being so close and interwoven. Unfortunately, I was not aware of it at all, and I'd found out maybe 2 days after it happened that it had actually happened, which was a big source of frustration for me, because he was, I think, number 2 in the world at that time, in his weight category, and training with someone from New Wave is quite a big deal. So I was really frustrated that I'd missed that. So then I started looking for follow-up seminars, and I tried to find out where the best place was to go to find these seminars in real time, on the fly. And it just didn't seem like there was anything out there. So, you've got your Facebook pages, you've got your Reddit posts, you've got your athletes, which will post to their accounts. But unless you're following them specifically, you're not going to keep up to speed on those, and you're not necessarily going to know, what might drop last minute. So working in IT and being a big fight fan, I saw an opportunity there, and I just, decided that I would try and build something to fit that demand and to provide that service to anyone who is looking for it. So it was a little bit of a selfish, starting point. But as it grew, it came apparent there was a demand for it on the market.
Yeah, and it sounds like it was a very good starting point. And actually, now the app is launched and kind of ready, you have a number of pro athletes signed up. Even when this episode goes out, you'll have already hosted your first event. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so our event is on the 3rd to 5th of May bank holiday. So, by the time this episode goes out, we will have held that. We've got Roy Dean coming over, who's a legendary jiu-jitsu practitioner. If you ever watched any of his stuff on YouTube, he's been around for a very, very long time and is highly respected in the sport across multiple disciplines. But jiu-jitsu specifically, traditional and modern, but more focused around the gi. So I'm really looking forward to that. It will be hosted in Swansea, so Ash Williams will be there as well. Machin Masilewicz, who's known as the Polish Punisher, so he's been doing a lot of circuit stuff within the ADCC world, but also he was in PGF, I think it's called, out in the States recently, with the 10th Planet guys, with Brandon and all his team down there. And on the first day, we have Dean Lister as well, who, outside of being an ADCC champion, was obviously instrumental in Pride back in the day, which is going back to my sort of original MMA fan days. So yeah, we're bringing in some legends to really give out a great experience and to kind of kick off the whole Matador seminar journey, basically.
I think it's incredible. And if you're listening to this and you have attended that event, do drop us a line. Let us know how incredible it was. I'm sad I can't be there, but I will be watching your socials and just finding out, hopefully, how incredible it is and just the experience. I think bringing high-level athletes and practitioners like ourselves together to be able to learn in person, whilst we can buy instructionals, whilst we can follow their Instagram, there is nothing like it, like you say, in going to those seminars and learning in person. There's just so many benefits for all of that.
Exactly.
And do you have any other seminars kind of in the pipeline for the rest of 2025?
So we do. What we're trying to do is organise up to 4 events per year. So 1 a quarter is what we're aiming for. I think realistically, you know, we may need to strip that back. But I want to make sure that it's inclusive and relevant for everyone. So we're going to try and do a women's only camp as well. I think that's very much needed. I think, you know, there's a lot that are going on abroad. I think bringing it to the mainland in the UK would be great. Obviously, we'd manage that through the app. But I think, you know, first and foremost, we're not an events company. So we're doing this off the back of, you know, requests from athletes, requests from our users. First and foremost, we are a tech company. So the app is providing a service. It's real-time seminar management, seminar demand, seminar organization, with all the services, you know, ticketing, understanding of, you know, where the demand is, push notifications. So we are first and foremost a tech firm. Just happens that I'm a purple belt and that my my lead developer is also a purple belt, and that we have the network to be able to create these events at affordable prices as well, might I add.
So talk us through what someone might find if they haven't already downloaded the Matador app and want to go and download it and use it. What does the user experience look and feel like?
Yeah, so we've currently got 3 profiles, and what I've tried to do is I've tried to cater to all of those individuals who will be involved in the management of a seminar or the attendance of a seminar. So much like the logo here, you've got the 3 peaks, the trifecta of any event, I like to call it, or any seminar. So at the top here, we'll have the athletes. In the bottom right-hand corner, we'll have the gyms or the venues. And then in the other corner, you'll have the users or participants or practitioners. So each of those will have a separate experience within the app, but tailored very specifically to their need. So a regular user or practitioner, for example, she will log in, they'll create a profile, and they'll be able to swipe on athletes that they're interested in having seminars with. This is then populated, so we're creating a geographical representation of where the demand is. So the athletes will be able to see that on a map, and they could look at a city and go, oh, in London, I've got 100 people who are interested in a seminar, therefore I shall go ahead and schedule an event. So they can do it through the app, and they can do that in combination with any of our partner gyms. So we've got gyms who have signed up as well. And then a push notification is sent to all of the users to say, hey, there's a seminar in this area. You said you were interested in it. Would you like to partake in that seminar? If yes, purchase a ticket here. So we're trying to be proactive about these things rather than reactive. It's very much a reactive market right now. You're going out, you know, and seeing a post and, oh, that's good. I'll sign up to that. But if you can get ahead of it and let people know what's coming when it's coming, you're probably going to get higher attendance. You'll get more engagement. And it's just it's a service essentially to you know, let people know what's out there.
Yeah. I love that it reflects back to your original kind of frustration, finding out 2 days after a seminar was being held, and actually you're solving your own problem. And as someone else in tech, you know, creating solutions that solve problems for ourselves primarily, but actually we find so many other individuals have that same problem. So you're providing an incredible service for anyone that trains Brazilian Jiu Jitsu in the UK. Do you have plans to take this worldwide?
So we are actually already worldwide. We've got 2 gyms in South Africa. We've got, I think, 3 in the States. When I look at the user engagement, we've got users across something like, you know, 6 different continents already. So we've got a good spread. It's just about getting the awareness out and getting the numbers up now. We've only been live 8 months as well. So I think, you know, and you work in tech, you know how these things are, right? We're building as we go. And because we're a lean team, we can be really agile. I know I'm using some buzzwords buzzwords here, tech word bingo. But we can basically, go on, sorry.
It's all going to get better for anyone that uses the app. That's what they need to know.
That's basically what it means, is that we can move at pace. And, you know, I'm actively talking with athletes, athlete managers and gyms to make sure that experience is on point and does exactly what it needs to be doing for those people involved. So, I think I've said it before, but I'll say it again. Within a year, it's going to be a very different place, and hopefully the users can see value from it.
Amazing. Thank you for talking about the Matador app.
No
If
worries.
you haven't already downloaded it, please go and download it. Log in whichever profile you happen to be, whether you're a practitioner, a pro athlete, or a gym, and it will be an incredible experience. Ollie, you mentioned about being a purple belt.
Yep.
Talk to me briefly about your journey, your kind of last stages of journey to purple belt, and how you're now feeling about it.
Yeah, so it was quite an unexpected promotion, to be honest. So I was Gracie Barra for a long time. I was roughly two and a bit years there, 2.5 years, and then due to work changes, I changed gyms. So I now work in. So that was Bristol. I'm now working in London predominantly. So I train out of BJJ Wimbledon up in Wimbledon because that's where I'm based. But I do tend to drop into a lot of other gyms. I think my approach to jiu-jitsu is that although you have, a or two home sort of environments, you can learn from everyone. And again, it goes back to the seminar piece, right? You can learn something from everyone, and it's all relevant in the game of jiu-jitsu, I think, and more broadly in combat sports, right? Because there's so many different elements. There's elements of competition, but there's real life situations as well. And I think different aspects of the game bring different skill sets, which is what I'm all in for. So yeah, I was promoted last month, I guess it is now, and it's it's that recurring theme which probably every practitioner will be familiar with. You get a promotion and you feel like you need to live up to the standard of your belt. I remember having it at blue belt. Blue belt was very emotional for me. I was literally seconds away from tears. It was you were there actually. You were
I
there.
was. It was in the time you were. There was an encouragement to fight for your blue belt. I'm so pleased I haven't had to go through your experience, but actually, it was really quite a momentous event, and I don't think at that point you knew you were going to get your blue belt either, or whether it was a fight for blue. But the whole gym was just overjoyed about your progress and development. It was an emotional, like you say. We were sharing that energy space. It was well deserved.
It was amazing, and I think I wouldn't have necessarily said that I would have opted in for that method of promotion, but actually looking back now, I do think that that's relevant. I think that being able to showcase your skills at various belts, I think is important, because it keeps the practitioners true to the belt and to the standard of jiu-jitsu, which I think we all should be held to. Quite frankly, I think there's nothing worse than someone who isn't a true black belt, for example, teaching people wrong techniques. So I think having that stress test, I think, is vital through your journey, and that goes in line with yourself, your self-assessment, as it were, versus your belt. But again, on the flip side, you do have imposter syndrome every time you get a promotion. At least I do. So I very much felt that at blue belt, but I felt quite comfortable quite quickly, and actually, people telling you, you do deserve this. This is, that you've worked hard for this. Your coaches, your trainers, your training partners. And then much the same in purple belt, although my training has tapered off somewhat because of my various other activities. So obviously I've got the app, I've got a full-time job, and I've got 3 children. So, that unfortunately, my capacity in training has dwindled somewhat. So I was training 6 to 7 times a week. I'm now probably training twice if I'm lucky a week. But I will pick that up again. But I think also, as you advance through your belts, you advance with your knowledge. So although you said earlier, nothing does replace actually, drilling techniques, going through those roles, maybe going to open mats and actually practicing the techniques. I think as you advance more through your awareness and competencies within the sport, you can learn from reading materials, watching tutorials, speaking to people.
Yeah.
So I think the training potential expands as you expand in your jiu-jitsu journey.
Yeah. Agreed. For me, my off-mat learning is by interviewing individuals like yourself, and pro athletes as well. My learning is kind of learning through talking with people for the podcast. That's my little tick in the box. I've not signed up to any instructionals, and I don't have a massive book of positions, moves, concepts. So this is my alternative.
Yeah, and I think like I said earlier, it's all valid, right? Whatever knowledge source you can acquire along the way will definitely help you, whether it's mindset, whether it's physical, whether it's tactical or strategic. Like there's so many facets to this sport, which is I think why it keeps us so engaged, right?
Absolutely. Ollie, how can people follow the Matador app or even your journey?
Yeah, so the Matador app is currently only on Instagram. We're a very small team, very small lean team, but you can follow us on Instagram at Matador App, just Matador App. We've also got a website which is www.matadorapp.io, or you can follow me, of course, at my personal Instagram if you so choose to see my personal jiu-jitsu journey. And that's Ollie B. Kelly, I think, is my handle. But yeah, I do encourage you to check out what we're doing over at Matador. I think that's quite valuable and hopefully game-changing at some point down the line.
Absolutely. Do go and follow all those. They're all in the show notes. So do check them out. Do follow both of those. Ollie, I wish you all the very best for the Matador app and your own progress through Purple Belt and beyond.
Likewise.
I will look forward to following your journey, and look after yourself and the family.
Yeah, thank you so much, Lou, and you too. And look forward to rolling soon.
I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you for telling your friends about this show. And as soon as this episode ends, I'd really appreciate you dropping a show rating and a review. Thanks again for listening. Catch you on the next episode of the Jiu Jitsu Lou podcast.